Hey Eurovision fans, it's time for another Eurovision news update. The Netherlands will be participating in Eurovision 2025, but Joost Klein is not going to be their representative. We're going to find out about the new ESC director, that's Martin Green. Who is he and what role might he be playing? We're going to go through an updated participation list, and I've also got a whole bunch of the national final news for you as well. So let's keep it. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Tom. I'm an Irish Eurovision analyst, and you can find all of this stuff on my Eurovision channel. So first, let's start off with some good news, and that is that Avrotros, the Dutch broadcaster, has confirmed participation for Netherlands in Eurovision 2025. Let's read out what they said. Avrotros will participate in the Eurovision Song Contest 2025 in Switzerland. After months of discussions and consultations, the broadcaster has received sufficient guarantees from the EBU that structural changes will be implemented at the music festival. Joost Klein was offered the opportunity to participate again, but in the end he chose to decline this offer. Registration for new songs for 2025 is now open. They then went into further detail about what were the changes that the EBU and them discussed behind the scenes. Avrotros, together with other countries, has pushed for structural changes in front of and behind the scenes of the Eurovision Song Contest during and immediately after the edition in Malmö. The broadcaster is satisfied with the package of measures that is now in place and looks positively to the future. Concrete changes have been implemented, such as appointing a safety manager in the artist environment, severely reducing behind the scenes filming, which, as we know, was one of the biggest issues that caused the incident with Joost Klein this year. A safe space for artists behind the scenes where they will not be disturbed. So that bit's interesting. I wonder, is that going to be like a private room for each person, or is it going to be like a kind of like a communal area where they can all go and be on their own just with their teams? A crisis team consisting of representatives of the EBU, participating countries and the organizing broadcaster, so that important decisions are taken democratically. This is the first I've heard mention of this crisis teams. I guess these are just problem solvers, or, you know, when an issue comes up, instead of Martin Osterdahl and Martin Green, the new ESC director, having to deal with it, they can delegate that to the crisis team. I think there were a lot of crisis meetings in Eurovision 2024, which probably sucked up a lot of time and made things even more chaotic, because they're trying to simultaneously produce the show and also deal with all these issues. Appointment of Martin Green as a new Eurovision director to oversee these changes, which I'm going to be talking about later on in the episode. Avrotros will continue to monitor this process closely, but is hopeful and has confidence in the renewal of Europe's largest music festival. So first of all, I'm extremely happy that Netherlands are back. For me, they are one of the core countries in the contest. I'm a huge Netherlands fan. I think they've been amazing since they did their revamp in 2013. Yeah, like they're one of the countries that I really can't imagine the contest. Like Ukraine is another one. I really can't imagine Eurovision without Ukraine. It just wouldn't feel the same. So I know that a lot of Dutch fans are still really pissed off about what happened last year. I don't think this completely heals everything that's happened. I gotta admit though, I'm just still really happy that the Netherlands are coming back. I think they've been in the contest since the beginning. They've been to almost every single year. So yeah, I feel a huge sense of relief. I felt like what happened last year was really awful, but then for that to carry on and to also not have the Netherlands in the grand final for the 2 years in a row, I feel like the healing process will happen better if Netherlands are still participating. I feel like these changes that Avrotros got from the EBU was a necessary part of them saving face to be able to come back to the contest, because if Avrotros just came back with no changes at all, I think they'd have difficulty arguing that to many people. Whereas now when people say why participating, they could say, well, we've gotten all these changes which we think are going to improve the contest and stop anything like this from happening again. So now the second part of this comes along, which is that Joost Klein has declined to be the representative for Netherlands next year. Not too surprising. He'd been kind of teasing you, talking about Eurovision 2025. I don't get the impression this was like a definite flat no. I feel like it's something that he had thought about and he'd weighed up the pros and cons. I imagine that they contacted him pretty early to say, like, are you interested or not? So Joost put out a statement. I've made the decision to not participate in Eurovision 2025. My team and I had everything ready, but it just doesn't feel good. I'm very thankful for all the love around the world. However, I'm still very affected by this year. I need to give myself more time to heal. So him saying his team and I had everything ready implies to me that they probably already had a song prepared. It just doesn't feel good. Could be several things. Maybe he's just still not over what happened. Could also be that the song just doesn't have the same impact. I think if he does come back, he wants to be as good as Europapa or even better. Europapa has been hugely successful in streaming. I think it's like the second most streamed song in the Netherlands. I'm not sure if it's ever, but definitely recently. It was my dream to do Eurovision and we did that. For months I had this feeling that I needed to make a return to finish the job, but in reality we reached a higher goal. Europapa united a lot of people. This story is not just about me, it's about us. I'm grateful. People from all around the world are trying to learn Dutch, and this makes me very proud of my language. We achieved something previously claimed to be impossible. We used the real power of the internet. So maybe I was blinded, but now I see clear. I have to follow the light, not fight against it. The media will be the media, but I have no place in that. I'm not made for this big machine. My path is different, and I welcome anybody who would like to join this adventure. Trust the process. I wonder if who he's talking to when he says my path is different and I welcome anybody who would like to join this adventure. Is he talking to other Dutch artists saying don't hesitate about going into Eurovision, I had a bad experience, but it's not all bad? Or is he talking about himself? So yeah, interesting statement there. I definitely feel one part of it is that he did perform in semi-final number 2, so he got the real on-stage live performance. The same as 11 acts who also competed in the semi-finals, but then didn't compete in the final. So, you know, you don't have to be in the final to get the full experience. He was backstage, he saw everything, he was in part of it. I think if he hadn't have performed in semi-final number 2, I feel he probably would have been more likely to come back this year. But the fact that he ticked off so many of the being at Eurovision boxes, and the song really did reach a lot of people and had a lot of success. And I do think that we'll probably see Joost Klein back in the future. Could be 5 years, 10 years in the future. I think if he writes a song that's really, really perfect, I really do hope he comes back at some point, because I do feel a sense of incompleteness. Nothing compared to, for example, like 2020, where the sense of incompleteness is just totally desperate. I'm still not over 2020. This is a little bit easier to get over because there is a potential for him to come back in the future. Okay, now let's find out a little bit more about this ESC director. Martin Green has been chosen to take on this new role. Checked out an interview that he did with the Eurotrip podcast, December 2023. So this was after Liverpool had hosted. Martin Green was the managing director of Eurovision 2023 in Liverpool, which meant that he was basically in charge of pretty much everything, putting the show together, interval acts, lighting, stagings, slogan development, just basically the entire show. He was right up at the top. Professionally, he is a live show producer. He used to do the New Year's Eve shows in London, which is a really, really big deal. You need to buy tickets for it. He was also head of ceremonies in 2012, so he did the opening and closing ceremonies for the Olympics and the Paralympics. So he has a huge experience in producing really, really, really big, gigantic shows and dealing with all the problems that can come up in doing that. So when Ukraine won in 2022, we had that period where we weren't sure whether they were going to host or not, who was possibly going to take over. When it started becoming apparent that the UK was going to potentially be the host, he actually contacted them and said, I will do anything. I will make tea if you want me to. So he absolutely jumped on that opportunity. He's a gigantic Eurovision fan, and he was willing to do absolutely anything to be involved. Now, obviously, he ended up becoming the managing director, which is like the best thing he possibly could have imagined. There was an interesting part in the interview as well where he was talking about referencing the war in the Eurovision 2023 staging, how the EB were slightly hesitant about that aspect, and Martin Green was kind of pushing on it. So really an interesting dynamic there coming in, where he was speaking about how some of the British producers were a little bit more forthright with their opinions, whereas the EB were a little bit more Switzerland, for lack of a better word, trying to be a little bit more reserved and diplomatic. So this makes me think, again, this is someone who's going to be really, really good in this role, because, I don't know, the EB come off to me as a little bit robotic sometimes. Very well organized, but yeah, by the book. I think bringing in someone like Martin Green, who's willing to take on slightly more controversial topics, is a really, really, really good addition to their team, and I think they need that. He also spoke about how they really only had 6 months to prepare the contest in Liverpool, because obviously it was announced so late. So I think this year's going to be a lot easier for him. He's got way more time than usual. They still put on an absolutely spectacular show in Liverpool. Liverpool was one of the best Eurovisions I've been to. Not just the show, but also the city and how everything was organized was really, really great. That, plus he has more time this year, it's less rushed, makes me really, really excited for what he can be able to do. He came across very well in the interview. He seems very personable. Martin does tend to come across as very cool, very stoic, a little bit robotic sometimes, whereas Martin Green, if you listen to this interview, he's very bubbly, he's got a big sense of humor. I feel like he is going to be really good at building relationships. I think he's going to get on really well with the delegations and the artists. I also think that he'll put people in their place if needs to. He didn't sound like he was a pushover at all. Huge amount of experience in terms of producing these live events and how to deal with problems. You know, dealing with the Olympics is something on a much, much bigger scale than Eurovision, and he pulled it off in the Paralympics and the Olympics. So I feel like this is a really, really good appointment, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do. Okay, let's stay on the topic of the UK, because they have announced that they are starting the process for choosing their song and artist this year, and they are going to involve David May. So David May, You may remember from 2009 having a worldwide hit, Superstar, which honestly I didn't know existed. I had to look it up on YouTube. But he was the manager of Samrider in 2022 when Samrider came second, and then had a #2 single and then a #1 album. So yeah, David May, I believe, was his manager and was kind of like organizing things. They've brought David May back in. 2022 was different, I believe, because tap music was involved. It seems like David May's coming back, but separate from tap music. So they're just kind of plucking out one person, maybe that they had a good relationship from the process. It's a decision that makes sense to me. He had a really great result in 2022. Was it a once-off? Can he produce it again? I definitely think it's very appealing for British artists to work with someone who they know has had success. Because realistically this year, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult for the UK. Ali Alexander getting 0 points at the televote. Even though he came 18th, he did pretty well with the jury. I think those zero points from the televote were one of the big things that stood out. And he was quite established. Now, was the performance perfect? Definitely not. I thought it was wonderful, but I thought the vocals lacked. I think a lot of viewers found it way too sexualized, and also that the song lacked a little bit of impact. So definitely there are things that could be improved on. I still think that 0 points was a total scandal. I think that was really like a robbery. But so yeah, Sam had a great result in 22. May Muller and Ali not having great results afterwards. I wonder how long this Samrider effect can last. This belief that the British people and British artists have that they can do well. Samrider bucked a lot of opinions that the UK can never do well in Eurovision. I feel like there's an expiry date on this belief, and I really want the UK to do well. I wouldn't even mind if they just went for like a jury baity song just to get like a really high jury score to put them in kind of the left side of the table. I would love them to do well with the televote as well. In any case, Eurovision is still huge in the UK. They had 8.5 million people watching this year, which is the highest of any country. A lot of British people said they don't like it. They do though. They really love it. Those viewing figures are absolutely huge. There was a huge amount of enthusiasm behind the hosting in 2023. And yeah, the UK is a very important part of Eurovision. I think that's why they're always going to get given a good running order slot, because in fairness, they've got the highest viewing figures. Ali, for example, was drawn first half, but was given the 13th running order slot. And I think the UK doing well in the contest is important for the contest's general health. I really want the UK to do well. I hope that David May coming in, he's got some good connections. He's going to give confidence to any artists who might be on the fence thinking, I don't know if I can do it or not. You know, look what happened to Ali Alexander. Maybe he'll just be able to convince them to give it a try. Okay, let's take a look at the updated participation list, and we're currently sitting at 34 countries with that beautiful addition of Netherlands to the confirmed side. We had a little bit of a tiny scare with Malta between this video and my last news video. The source for their participation was an expired link. Luckily, the Maltese broadcaster PBS has come out with a new rule book for the Malta 2025 Eurovision Song Contest. Not an official confirmation, but like much better. Between the last video and now, I took Malta off the list and put them back on again. They've actually not missed a single contest since 1991, which is very impressive considering that we had that elimination rule between 97 and 2003, and then the top 12 and top 11 rules in 2005 and 2006. They survived all of that. They didn't miss any contests. So yes, we're currently sitting at 34 countries. I went through previous years to see when is the participation list usually announced. So in 2021, it was announced on October 20th. 2022, it was announced on October 20th. In 2023, it was announced on October 20th. So 3 years in a row, it was announced on October 20th. And then last year, I couldn't find the video. I don't know if it was taken down or if it was put up on TikTok, but I couldn't find it. So I don't know what the date was last year when we got the official participation list. If you know, leave a comment down below, please. It seems there's a pattern that we used to get the participation list on October 20th. We knew that the Netherlands had an extension until November 1st. They've told us a little bit early that they're going to be participating. I imagine we'll get that participation list maybe November 1st or maybe a couple of days afterward. Of the 12 not confirmed countries left, I'm still expecting Armenia, Moldova and Poland to say yes. Australia for me, still a little bit on the fence. I'll be above 50% on that. If we got those 4, that would mean that we had everyone we had last year plus Montenegro, which means that we would have 38. Still a possibility that Romania, North Macedonia, Bulgaria come back. I really don't expect any of those 3. And theoretically, if we did lose Australia, we're back down to 37. So I don't think we're going to go less than 37. I think something really bad would have to be happening behind the scenes for that to happen. Who knows, we might get one pleasant surprise, but I don't know why they would leave it so late if they've got a big juicy surprise. Okay, now let's talk about the OGAE second chance round, and the winner of this was Italy. It was Annalisa singing Sinceramente. The show was very well done. It was in Borsal, I think, city I'd never heard of, is actually the hometown of Christer Björkman. So in case you didn't know, OGAE's second chance round is run by the OGAE fan club. Any song from the national finals that didn't make it to Eurovision can be submitted by the national fan group, and then everyone votes on their favourite. And this year was an absolute washout for Annalisa. She got 12 from pretty much everyone. I think there were only 2 or 3 out of 32 countries. So yeah, I was kind of fast forwarding a little bit because there were just so many 12s for Annalisa. This is actually the second time that she's won it. She won it in 2018 as well with Il Mondo Primo di Te. So congratulations to her. I know these are like a huge fan favorite song. I wonder if she's gonna collect the award in any capacity, because this year we had Marcus and Martinez. Marcus had a new moustache, which I thought was very interesting. It was a little bit Tom of Finland. I think we're gonna see Annalisa back at San Marino. I know that she desperately wants to win it. Okay, we've got a little bit of news from France, a potential rumour about who could be representing them this year. Keep in mind, this is absolutely and blatantly a rumour. I'm not saying this has any basis in fact or logic or anything. Roman on Twitter is saying, apparently Louane is on the road to represent France next year. The singer has postponed all her tour dates scheduled for April and May 2025. France TV is once again looking for a famous French artist to go at Eurovision. Source, Julien Bernici. I have no idea about Julien Bernici and who this is and how reliable, but exciting to see that France potentially has another big artist. France have been doing so well recently. Obviously Junior Eurovision, they've won 3 of the last 4 years. Adult Eurovision coming 4th, 2nd place with Voila. Obviously Louane didn't go so well, but that whole process was very late and the national final seemed a little bit kind of like hastily put together, and they took a risk and it didn't work, but it still was a really very memorable package. So overall, I think France are one of the strongest countries in Eurovision in the last 5 years. So she is a Voice alumni, which is one of the reasons why I think this might potentially be true. We know that France gets a lot of their artists from The Voice. I think all of their junior Eurovision artists come from The Voice. Smthngnw won season 5 of The Voice in France and also is one of the jury members on The Voice Kids. It seems like the French delegation has a partnership with The Voice right now and are working with them to try and get their artists, and it's going really well. Yeah, Louane definitely could be a possibility. Let's wait and see if we get more news. Last year we got news on France so early, even before Junior Eurovision happened, we already had the song. Okay, now let's check out the national final news and Melodifestivalen, the Swedish national final, with the first 14 names rumoured for Melodifestivalen 2025. Now when they say rumours, I feel like the Melfest producers just kind of like feed out the names gradually to the tabloids. So I don't know why Melfest don't just announce it themselves. This is the process that they have. In any case, they were released 10 and 4. The first 10 are here. Franz at the top of the list, the winner in 2016. Although in an update, they said that he is no longer rumoured. So I'm not sure if he had a song but then lost it, or he lost interest or changed his mind or whatever. But he was on the list and now he's off it. Second name up, Smthngnw, who I spoke about in the last episode. Then we have Arvin Garna, who you may know as a kind of like wedding band style group. I think they've come 3rd a couple of times. I have to admit, I'm not really into their music. It feels very wedding band to me. They had a crap load of albums though, bloody hell. 2019, they came 7th with a song called I Do, and then they came 9th in 2021. Oh yes, they represented Sweden in 1993 in Mill Street, and then they end up coming 7th. So yeah, they're very much like Eurovision 90s to me. Anyway, they're fine, they're harmless, but yeah, that's not something that wildly excites me. John Ludwig is the 4th name who I also spoke about last year, who also spoke in the last video as well. Khalifa, I don't know, I'm going to be honest, sorry. Andreas Lundstedt, who I believe is the lead singer of Alcazar. So I wonder, is he going to be coming with something dancey or is he going to be going for something more ballady? We have Dolly Style, who you may know as Dolly, Polly and Molly. Oh, they've got a 4th one now. They've got Yali as well. It's like one of those bands where it's not about the people in it. They play characters, so the characters can be replaced. So for example, Holly has been played by 2 people. Molly has been played by 4 different people. Polly's been played by 4 different people. And then you have Yali as well. So it's like all 3 of the original founding members are gone. So the band is completely different. I think Sugar Babes did something similar as well, where it's more about a brand than the actual people in it. So Dolly Style have already been in Melodifestivalen 3 times, Hello High, Roller Coaster and Habibi. I think they usually make it to like the Ander Hansen round. They're never usually in contention to win. I feel like their music is kind of geared a little bit more towards kids. Next up, we also have Malu Pritz, who I remember from 2019 I was really excited about. She had a great song, I Do Me, which had really cool staging. And then she had this fantastic non-melody festival and single, which is called Left and Right, which I really recommend you to check out because it's a really great pop song. And then she came back with Ballerina, which I thought was pretty mediocre, and she didn't qualify with that. And then in 2022, she had Bananas, which came in 6th place in the semi-final. So she's really talented. She's got a great voice. I just hope that she gets given a better song because she's definitely got the talent to represent Sweden. Speaking of young female artists who've got talent, we also have Clara Hemmerstrom. You may know from Run to the Hills. Also someone who I think has got really great stage presence as well. And then last up from the first list is Scarlett, who you may know from last year having Circus X being totally robbed and absolutely should have gone to the final, but had this stupid ass system which meant that they just got really robbed. Let's not talk about it anymore. 4 new names being added in. The first one is Annika Vickyhalder, who you may remember last year having a song called Light, which was in the last heat. I think it came 3rd or 4th, and then because of this ridiculous system they had and it was fresh in everyone's memories, she went into the final. I'm not saying it was a bad song. Her song Light was pretty decent. For some reason they had this absolutely amazing bridge for 10 seconds which they only used once from 2003 to 2013. If you want to check out a video, I don't know if I can play the song here because of copyright. She's a really great performer though, great voice, great on stage presence, so I'm excited to see what she's got. I hope she's got a stronger song, or if the song has a good bit that they don't just use it once for 10 seconds, use it more often. The second name is someone I don't recognize. It's Maja Ivarsson, who apparently is the front woman of a Swedish band called The Sounds. I have to admit, I don't know any of their music. We also have Myra Omar, who is from Love is Blind. So I'm glad I don't know who that is. And then we also have Tennessee Tears, who you remember from 2023 coming 5th in their semi-final, but they went through with this demographic points voting system. They went through ahead of Victoria. Victoria came 4th, and then they went out in the Andrew Hansen round. So yeah, they're going to be back as well with their kind of like country style music. So we're currently sitting at around 13 names. I think they've got some of the big hitters out so far. Now we're getting some of the slightly smaller names who are making up the numbers, but still lots more names to be announced. I think 30 in total, so we've got another 17 people left. We've also got some details from Benidorm Fest, that's Spain's national final. They've put out a statement saying that they've received a significant number of folk, urban and rap songs, although pop remains the dominant genre, so we might get a nice cool mix this year. They've also had an AI song, which I thought was illegal, but apparently not. And we've had more songs from women than men, and we've also had some foreign people sending in songs as well. I'm really excited for Benidorm Fest. I think it has established itself as one of the most exciting and anticipated national finals that's around this year. I love that they keep continuing to build on it. To be honest, the thing I'm most excited about for Benidorm Fest this year is the fact that they're not showing the results of the semi-finals, because previously it was too obvious who was competing to win in the final because we saw who won semi-final 1 and semi-final number 2. This year we're not going to see those exact results, and I think that's going to make the whole thing a lot more exciting. I think they've made the app free as well, so hopefully there'll be more voting and more public interaction in the contest. Okay, let's stay on the topic of the Big Five, and we have details on Germany's national final. And the production company that have been producing their national final for the last 3 years has been dropped. I have to admit, I thought 2023 looked really good. I thought 2024 looked absolutely awful. I thought the production was really bad. I remember in Rick's song, it looked like the camera got lost at some points. And then Bodin's song, the staging looked terrible. I just thought the whole thing looked really cheap and small, and it just looked like there were a lot of kind of amateur looking production errors. So yeah, I don't know what's happened or why they've been dropped, but yeah, it kind of makes sense based on what I saw in 2024. Previously in the year, I think around April, Eurovision were reporting that Stefan Raab suggested a new style of national final. In case you don't know Stefan Raab, he is someone who used to be heavily involved in the German selection process, and he had a really good result. I think he had 5 entries and all 5 of them went to the top 10 in the background as a producer or as a songwriter or just getting involved. I don't know if the German broadcaster are going to take his suggestion on board. Generally, I think of the German broadcaster as being very non-communicative. We just tend to get like some splat news later on in the season. I don't expect to get a lot of updates on them. Next up, we've got a little bit of news from Albania. Some of the song titles are being released about the Festival of Kunga songs. I'm just going to focus on one of them, which is Elvana Gata, who I am absolutely assuming will be the favorite to be the Albanian representative in Eurovision if they keep this system where the jury winner wins Festival of Kungas and the televote winner is the person who goes to Eurovision. I'm definitely expecting Elvana to win that televote. In any case, her song is going to be called Carnival, and it's a dance song, and the orchestra is going to be loud in caps. The Euro girly bop stans are going to lose their pants about this. I think this is definitely going to be #1 in the Eurovision scoreboard for quite a while, because we know the Eurovision scoreboard loves their girly bop dances. Yeah, I would love Albania to pick her. I think she's an absolute super class act. She was fantastic in 2020 when she came second. I think she's even better now. She's got a huge fan base. I think this would really energize Eurovision Albania. I think it's still pretty popular in Albania right now, but it would make it even more for them to be sending like one of their biggest established stars, and she would have money, she would have all great makeup, really great show. I just think the whole thing would look really, really excellent. So it's too early because I haven't seen any of the songs or anything, but like preliminarily, I will be excited if Alvana is the representative for Albania this year. Okay, if you're one of my Patreons, go on to this video on my Patreon channel if you want to check out the Patreon bonus news. Okay, that's all the news that we've got for today. No new donations, but if you want to support the channel, I have links for you down below. And of course, thank you to all my Patrons for patronizing me from all around the world. If you want more Eurovision content, why not check out this video? But of course, thank you so much for being here, and maybe leaving a like and maybe sharing the video. And I hope to see you in another Eurovision Answers video very soon. Goodbye. Blah, 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 blah.